Hello, everyone. I think we're going to start. So welcome to tonight's webinar. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm really excited that you're joining me here tonight for all you need to know about college abroad. This is a presentation by Global College Advisors. You will hear more about GCA in a moment. First, I want to mention a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function instead of the chat. I'm not monitoring the chat, and it will make it easier for me to get to your questions afterwards if you put them into the Q&A. Finally, this webinar is being recorded, and we plan on posting the video on our YouTube channel later this month. So please hop over to the Global College Advisors YouTube channel and check there if you would like to rewatch some of the information. Hold on, I just saw one question in here. Okay, yeah, Sonia, as I mentioned, the recording will be shared via our YouTube channel, so you're free to rewatch it there if you don't mind. Okay, so with that, let me introduce myself. My name is Cornelia Betschart-Fuertes, and I'm the founder of Global College Advisors, GCA in short. We connect students with universities all over the world, including the United States. Global College Advisors provides one-on-one college consulting. We usually help students apply to a mix of universities in the US and abroad. This allows students to have a wider choice once college offers come in, and students can choose a college option that's not only best for them academically, but also financially. We are a full-service college consulting firm. That means we help with college research, college list building, essay strategy, financial aid education, and so much more. So I'm very excited about having the opportunity tonight to share with you what college abroad is all about, especially in times where US college education becomes more and more expensive every year. I'm very passionate about letting students and families know that there are other more affordable ways to get an excellent and high-level college education, one that is accredited all over the world. And with that, let's take a look at our agenda for tonight. So this is what we will be covering tonight. We have 4 main topics today. First, we'll talk about the various definitions of college abroad. Secondly, we'll go into the why and how. Why should you consider getting a bachelor's degree abroad? What are the benefits, and how can I all do that? How can I apply? And then we'll dive deeper and address more specific topics like tuition costs in different countries, housing, student support systems, and what studying overseas might look like. Lastly, we'll put it all together for you and go over how to make it happen. What are the application requirements? What does the application process look like? What is the timeline and such? Okay, so let's start by looking at your different options when you decide to go to college abroad. One option you might be familiar with is a study abroad semester or year abroad that is organized by the college that a student is attending in the United States. Going with this study abroad version, you will remain part of your American university while you study abroad, and you will continue to pay the US university's tuition fees. You can also choose a gap year option that allows you to get college credit for your time abroad. There are some programs where you can actually gain admission through the gap year provider to specific US universities and then seamlessly continue with your education at these colleges after your gap year. Another way to experience college abroad is by applying for a dual degree at a US college. This option will allow you to get a degree from 2 universities that partner with each other. And usually you will study 2 years at a partner university abroad and then finish your degree at the university in the USA. An example for dual degrees options are the 2 dual degrees offered by UC Berkeley, for example. One is with Sciences Po in France, and another one offered by UC Berkeley is with the University of Hong Kong. But obviously, there are many other options out there. I basically just mentioned these 2. The last option on this slide, a bachelor's degree abroad, is the one we will be talking about tonight. It is going abroad for a complete undergraduate degree. That means you will be applying directly to universities overseas and not through any study program that a US university organizes. All these options that I mentioned here and that I listed here on that slide, they differ in terms of cost, the planning process and the organization, and also in terms of how you will end up immersing yourself into a foreign culture and language. So your choice will impact your overall experience later on. In the following slides, we will focus on getting a bachelor's degree abroad and what this entails. And with this, let's ask the question, why should you consider getting a college degree abroad? Well, there are many compelling reasons for it. I have listed 5 here. First of all, it is so much more affordable than going to college here in the United States. You might have seen a recent New York Times article with the headline, "Colleges will soon charge $100,000 a year." That's scary, right? Even though many families won't pay this sticker price, college has become quite expensive over the years, and we all know that. Therefore, the opportunity to get an excellent and internationally accredited bachelor's degree without incurring student debt is definitely worth considering, I think. Secondly, you can save time by doing your undergraduate degree abroad. Many countries in the European Union, the UK, and also Australia, for example, they all have 3-year undergraduate degree programs versus the 4-year bachelor programs we know here in the United States. There are exceptions, of course, like universities in Spain, Ireland, and also Japan. They have bachelor degrees that will take 4 years. A third factor that speaks for college abroad is especially great for students who already know exactly what they would like to study. In most of Europe and the UK, you apply for a specific program or major, so to say, that's called direct subject entry or direct entry programs, which means if you'd like to study architecture, law, or engineering, or history, you will start having classes in your chosen subject from the very start. So whatever you choose to study, you will start having classes in this subject from the very, very beginning on. And that means that history or foreign language majors, for example, won't have to take any math classes anymore, and science majors won't have to worry about any social science courses anymore. A fourth reason college abroad is attractive is that it makes you stand out in the global job market. Getting a bachelor's degree abroad is quite impressive in itself. However, employers these days stress how important it is for them to have employees who are critical thinkers, have a strong work ethic, are responsible, resilient, and versed in cross-cultural communication. Well, studying abroad helps you acquire these skills and also trains you to adapt to new situations more easily, take on challenges, and become a problem solver. And this brings us to our last point here. English is all you need. You don't need to have any prior foreign language skills if you want to go to college abroad. In fact, if you speak English, you have so many choices at universities abroad, since many countries, and specifically all countries within the European Union, offer hundreds of programs that are all taught entirely in English. So while you might want to learn the language of your host country, while you are there, it is generally not a requirement for you to speak a country's language when you apply for an international bachelor's degree abroad. On the next slide, we will explore the different options for pursuing your undergraduate degree abroad. There are different ways that you can make getting a college degree abroad a reality. Option 1 is that you choose to study at a branch campus of a US college and get a college degree from this particular US university, but outside of the United States. So you're basically pursuing a whole bachelor degree outside of the United States, but with a US university. One such university is, for example, St. Louis University in Missouri, which has a branch campus in Madrid, and where you can do a full bachelor degree in Madrid. Another option is choosing a completely independent American college abroad that offers a 4-year American liberal arts education. And again, you are getting an American education, but this time at an independent American college that is not affiliated with a university in the United States. Examples of such independent universities are the American University of Paris or John Cabot University in Rome, for example, but there are many more. Now, option 3 is the option we will discuss more in depth tonight, which is getting an undergraduate degree at an international university, like the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, which, by the way, offers 24 undergraduate majors that are completely taught in English. Now, the next slide shows us some tuition samples from different universities abroad. So on this slide, you can see a few examples of tuition fees for international students at universities abroad. Fees for EU students look a little bit different. That specifically applies if you're a dual citizen with a EU country, you're looking at different tuition fees. But in this case now, we are looking at tuition fees for international students at these universities in these countries. And I think having these numbers in front of you helps you to put things a little bit more into perspective when we talk about college cost. What you see here is the tuition fees only. Housing and living costs are not mentioned here. But for Europe in general, you can say that you should probably factor in like 1,000 euros per month for living costs, depending where you live. So between 7 and 1,000 euros. And for housing, it can be 500 to 1,000 euros. Also, again, depending where you live. If it's in a major metropolitan city, then it will be more expensive, of course. I want to point out that these tuition fees pertain to public universities in these countries. All these countries have, of course, also private universities, and they make for great college choices too. However, tuition fees at these private universities can be much higher. But in comparison to private tuition at US colleges, it is still very affordable. Just to give you an idea, though, tuition fees at private universities in Europe can be anywhere from 9,000 euros to 25,000 euros a year. And then remember that bachelor's degrees are normally 3 years long. So you will be paying that tuition fee only for 3 years instead of 4. For comparison, I listed the tuition fees for the UCs here in California and also for USC, the private university of Southern California, and also for the universities in the UK. You can see that at the bottom of the slide. So when we look at the tuition fees of public universities at some of these countries, you see that there is a tuition fee range. For the Netherlands, it goes from 6,000 euros to 15,000 euros, for example. The reason for this is that depending on the university and also the city, you will find a different tuition fee. Universities in the main cities of a country are often more expensive. In some countries other than the Netherlands, the range can also depend on what major you're choosing. That's, for example, the case for Australia, Ireland, the UK, where degrees in the sciences tend to be a bit more expensive. In the case of Germany, there is generally no tuition fee for anyone attending public universities, including international students. The only exception is one state in Germany that decided to charge international students tuition fees of 3,000 euros per year. Again, that is for a 3-year bachelor. So that's pretty, and that again is for a public university, just so that we're on the same term here. Now, the next slide, at this slide, we're going to look at the academic structure of the higher education system, specifically in Europe. Let's see, yes. So if you consider universities in Europe, it makes sense that we talk about the academic structure so you understand it a little bit better. While there can be slight differences in the academic structure depending on the country, overall, an undergraduate degree at European public universities generally takes 3 years to complete. There are some exceptions again, like I mentioned earlier, countries like Ireland or Spain, they have 4-year bachelor degrees. Now, a master's degree takes usually 1 to 2 years, again, depending on the country and on the major. Now, considering the curriculum, at European universities, students explore their major much more in depth and focus more on a specialization in their major than US colleges do. Therefore, you won't find any general ed requirements, and the direct subject entry allows you to start your specific major from the very beginning on. That's why a professional degree, medicine and law, for example, can be done in about 6 years since you start studying medicine from day 1 on. There are some differences, though, between the countries, again, how they approach medicine specifically. Some countries allow you to study that on a bachelor level and then move on to a master's. And some other countries, you actually sign up at the very beginning for a 6-year program. So it differs where you study. And also in some countries, or actually many countries in the EU, you will study medicine specifically in the native language. So it has some hurdles in that sense, but it is possible to study medicine specifically. For example, Ireland is an option because everything will be in English. It is important to mention that there are very few universities in Europe that offer a liberal arts education. The Netherlands is one of the few countries in Europe that actually has a number of small liberal arts and science colleges. They are considered honors colleges, and you won't need to declare a major when you apply. Now let's talk about the teaching and learning style at European public universities. First of all, public universities in Europe are usually really large. The teaching style is much more traditional with a combination of lectures and seminars, and it has a strong emphasis on independent study. There is no mandatory attendance for lectures usually, and you might not see as many opportunities for student collaboration and classroom discussion. Good to know is also that the assessment methods differ from what we are used to here at US colleges. Instead of continuous assessment throughout the semester and the year, you will find that often one final exam at the end of a semester more or less determines your grade. So there are seminars and papers to do throughout the semester, but they don't carry the same weight like the final semester exam. Again, there are exceptions to the rule. And again, the Netherlands in particular has a much more modern approach to higher education. They are known, for example, for their problem-based learning style. So if college abroad has caught your attention, I'd like to point out a few important differences between college in the US versus abroad, specifically in Europe. There are many more differences than I have listed here, of course, but some of them actually we have already touched on during the presentation and on the previous slides. But these 3 here, I think, are very important for the students and families to understand before they set their heart on college abroad. So at European universities, independence is highly, highly valued. You are considered and treated as an adult and expected to behave like one too. It's a degree of independence that is often very new for many US students. They think at first, yeah, that sounds great, but this freedom and independence also come with great responsibilities. As I mentioned earlier, at big public universities, attendance is often not required. So you are on your own to get yourself organized and motivated and study on your own. You need to be also self-disciplined to plan your study time into all your free time that you seemingly have. In regards to the student support, you can find academic writing centers, tutoring, and a career center. Basically, everything that you find at a US college is generally offered at a college abroad as well. However, you need to be the one to show initiative and ask for what you want and what you need. There's less reaching out to you from the university side. So this is where the independence piece comes into play again. And that also applies to emotional and mental health support. It's all available. There are mental health advisors, peer advisors, and psychologists. But again, you need to reach out and speak up for yourself and your needs. Housing is the third component that I would like to address. Here in the US, we are used to having colleges provide a housing option on campus. This is normally quite different in Europe. You'll find that most European universities are city campuses, and they have their buildings scattered throughout the city, similar to NYU. Housing is generally not organized by the university. Students have to find that on their own in the city and the surrounding neighborhoods. However, universities generally help international students with recommendations and connect them with student organizations that organize housing. Again, exceptions. The exceptions are universities in the UK and also private universities. Private universities in the European Union, they are more likely to offer options for on-campus housing. So who is a good candidate for college abroad? First, I want to mention, before we even get more into a student's personality, it is really important that a student knows what they'd like to study. If you remember, the direct subject entry requires a student to apply to a specific major. So knowing what exactly a student wants to study will be very helpful. Secondly, it's very important that a student is excited about immersing themselves into a new culture, most likely a new lifestyle, and that they know that college abroad means much more than just getting a degree abroad. It's learning about other people, traditions, and cultural habits on top of studying at a university abroad. Also, you have to learn how to deal with the daily challenges of living by yourself, only with the added component of living in a foreign country. That's obviously something you would have to learn here in the United States as well. If you go to college here in the US, you also have to live by yourself. But if you choose to go to college abroad, you have to do all this, but in a foreign country where you might not speak the language initially, at least. So there are some personality traits that will make it easier to integrate into a new culture and life far away from home. And I have listed a couple of them here on this slide. So if you are a student considering college abroad, it does help if you are open-minded, proactive, self-disciplined, and responsible. After all, you will be far away from home and need to get yourself to school, make personal and academic decisions all by yourself in a foreign country. You also want to be a self-advocate. You know what you need and you ask for it. And you don't give up until you get the help or the answer. Now let's take a look how to make it all happen on the next slide. So once you have decided that college abroad is for you, let's see how you can make it happen. First, what do universities overseas require? It's hard to make a general statement here, but you will see that all universities require a student to have a high school diploma that shows you finished your secondary education. You will also realize that a student's GPA is one of the most important components in the application process. Some countries have very specific requirements. In general, however, SAT or ACT test scores are less asked for by public universities unless you apply in the UK or you apply to a private university. So private universities will most likely consider SAT and ACT test scores as well. They might also have motivation letters and so forth, but public universities don't. On the other hand, some countries have very specific AP requirements. For example, applying to a study program at a research university in the Netherlands or universities in Germany will require you to have to show 4 APs with passing grades. And those 4 APs have to be also in certain courses, depending on what you want to study as a major later on. So it's important to plan ahead. Overall, however, applying to public universities in Europe is usually pretty straightforward. You don't need essays, no letters of recommendation usually, and you don't need a whole list of extracurriculars either. You really just need to have a good GPA. So the admissions process at public universities is generally not holistic, but rather academic. Therefore, a high GPA and rigorous classes are very important. Now, in terms of the actual application process, you will find that it is not very common for European countries to have a centralized application system. Applications are handled by universities individually. The UK actually is one of the very few countries with something slightly similar to a common app, which is the UCAS platform. And France has a platform specifically for international students called Campus France, which lets you apply to 3 study programs at universities simultaneously. Other than that, you need to apply at each university separately. That means you usually create an online account on the university's platform, indicate the study program you are applying for, and then upload all your documents. These documents typically include your transcripts, resume, passport, and high school diploma if you have it. And that's it usually, unless you're applying to universities in the UK. The UK needs obviously a personal statement. And private universities in Europe might need also more. They might want to have a motivation letter, might also use an interview to get to know the applicant a little bit better. But all this is not necessary for the public universities in Europe. A quick note, you can find some international universities on the Common App, actually. So you might want to check that out and just see what universities are on the Common App. It will obviously make it easier for you to apply if you say, okay, I'll just want to give it a try and see, if I can get into a couple of European universities while also applying to US colleges, for example. It's definitely interesting to see what universities are listed on the Common App. Now, regarding timelines, your junior year should be the year you start your research, if not earlier. You should research countries, universities, and majors related to your interests. If you know earlier than junior year, if you know earlier that you want to go abroad for college earlier than junior year, then ideally you would map out your academic courses in a way that they will fulfill possible later requirements for your major. For example, you might want to have your math sequence lined up so that you end up with an AP Calculus if you are a science major. Senior year is the time to apply. That's when many of the application portals open in Europe, like the UCAS for the UK applications, and individual universities open their portals in the Netherlands, Ireland, and France. However, in many countries, application portals don't open until much later, often just months before the start of the first semester, as is the case in Germany, the Czech Republic, and many universities in Spain. Noteworthy is that universities in some countries like Ireland have rolling admission, and there you should submit your application as soon as possible, because once spaces are filled, you won't be able to apply anymore. So what happens after you got accepted? Usually you will get a conditional offer when you apply as a high school senior, especially at a university that opens the application portals early. A conditional offer means that you will be accepted if you meet the particular conditions mentioned in your admissions offer. But you can also receive an unconditional offer if you have fulfilled all the admission requirements already. For example, if you have passed the necessary AP exams already by junior year, you could potentially get admitted to a UK university or a university in the Netherlands before you have finished your senior year. Once you are officially accepted, the university will ask for a deposit to secure your spot for you. And for most universities, you must show you can pay for a year of study. That means they want to see that you can pay the tuition fees and your living cost throughout the year. That's meant by proof of financial means. To make the transition easier for international students, all universities offer some kind of special orientation days or an orientation week. That's when they show you how to open a bank account, how to register at the municipality. And it's also then when you meet other international students who start their studies at the same time as you. And this will bring me to my last slide already. So how can you prepare for college abroad? There are many things you can do early on. It depends on what grade you're in high school, of course. If you're a freshman, you are in luck because you will have much more time to research, look at different countries and compare universities and their programs. It also helps if you can explore and get to know a country by visiting it before you decide to study there. If you are a rising senior, I suggest that you use the summer to research the countries and universities that interest you and attend virtual sessions offered at these universities to have an opportunity to ask questions and connect to students in the major that you would like to study. As a rising senior, you should also concentrate on your grades, since a competitive GPA is quite important for applying to almost all public universities abroad. Secondly, explore your interests. That's something you can do throughout your high school years. Figuring out what you like and enjoy doing will help you decide what you would like to study as a major. Remember, we talked about the direct subject entry where you have to choose your specific major. So in that respect, extracurricular activities are a great way to help you explore what you're good at and where your passions might be. So invest time to get to know yourself better. Third, as a part of your preparation, you want to plan your high school courses carefully. Challenge yourself and add some rigor to your classes by choosing honors or AP classes. Remember, some universities abroad require you to have 4 AP courses with passing exam scores. Therefore, plan wisely so that by senior year, you either have already taken the AP courses you need for your college applications abroad, or you will be able to take them in senior year. I also want to note here that in regards to math, many public universities in Europe expect that students have reached a certain math level, even if the application is for a social science major. That also depends on the country and the university, but to play it safe, I always tell my students that they should try to at least reach the pre-calculus level by the end of senior year. If you want to study business or math or anything in the natural sciences, then it's really important that you actually get to at least AP Calculus or AP Calculus and have some other AP, like AP Chemistry and AP Biology done as well, or AP Physics. So while these countries while these courses that I just mentioned might be required at some universities, I don't want anyone to get discouraged, especially rising seniors, if they don't have the academic requirements in place just yet. There are some alternative ways to gain entry to a university abroad. There are something like pathway programs or foundation year programs, and it's just a way of finding them, which universities offer them in which country. The UK, for example, has a lot of pathway programs, and the same for foundation year. France offers some, and Italy. So it really, you just need to look for them. Lastly, I want to urge all the students, either here on the call or the parents of these students here on the call, try to work on becoming more independent. So you might be already very independent, but if you're not yet, just start on that early on. You can start with simple things like preparing your own lunch, or help prepare meals for the family on the weekend, or now during the summer. Maybe you want to even try yourself on cooking a full meal. Other options are start doing your own laundry. Also work on being a self-advocate in your personal and academic life, and try to figure things out on your own before asking mom and dad to solve problems for you. And another thing is, should you have the opportunity to travel to other countries in the summer, for example, take the lead in figuring out logistics, like getting train tickets, planning train routes, or understanding the subway system, and so on. I think you get the idea. Yeah, this brings me actually to the end of my presentation. I hope I could give you all a little taste of what going to college abroad might look like and what it takes to get there. I will send out a follow-up email in a couple days with some resources to everyone who attended tonight's webinar. And as mentioned earlier, you will be able to find tonight's presentation on the Global College Advisors YouTube channel later on this month. Please feel free to book a 30-minute complimentary call with me, and we can address more personal questions then that you might have about going to college abroad, and that you might have now after this presentation. You can book that on my Calendly or just email me. And before we move into the Q&A, here is once more all my contact information on the last slide. And yeah, so let's see if there are any questions in the Q&A. And also I need to mention, if you have sent me any questions with your registration, I apologize, but something went wrong and I couldn't access the file. So if you had questions, then please feel free to ask them now. If you're all good and have no more questions right now, I would close this webinar for today. Also feel free, you can always email me later on with some questions. So that's no problem. So again, thank you all for attending tonight. And I don't see any more questions, and I will wish you all a wonderful evening, and yeah, enjoy the night. Take care.